Why have so many organizations switched to using TypeScript on their front end? No, I was asking you. Uh, uh, okay. All right, I'll just tell you myself, okay? So why have so many organizations adopted TypeScript on their front end? It's because TypeScript keeps your code maintainable and scalable in the long run. And it's also dope as fuck. I mean, I didn't always think that. So let me tell you about my journey into the TypeScript world. I used to hate TypeScript because JavaScript was the first language that I used. And yes, I know that TypeScript compiles down to JavaScript. It's essentially JavaScript under the hood, right? But if you're coding just with vanilla JavaScript or you're just using React without TypeScript, you're not going to get as many errors in your IDE. And I love that. I love the fact that JavaScript to me felt like the YOLO of languages. It was just like I could do whatever I want without any rules. And I mean, there's rules, right? But they're like rules, you know? So it's not, I'm just coding away freely and not caring about what happens to my functions after I declare them. And then TypeScript comes along, and then all of a sudden the code that actually works in the browser is getting all these errors in my IDE. I'm getting all these little red squiggles for stuff that I used to do all the time. And it didn't matter before. Why does it matter now? To me, TypeScript felt like the police. It felt like the Karen. It felt very much like eating your broccoli, taking your vitamins, drinking that 8 glasses of water a day. It just wasn't what I wanted to use. Like if I wanted rules, I would have become a lawyer or something. Definitely not a front end developer. But honestly, the more that I started to learn about TypeScript, the more I started to love it. So here are a couple of reasons why you should adopt TypeScript on your front end. So first, TypeScript makes it easy for you and others to onboard onto a new code base. TypeScript kind of acts like a documentation for you and helps you to understand, without having to look into the nitty-gritty details of all the lines of code, helps you to understand the inputs, the outputs, what you're expecting to get in, what you're expecting to get out, all the parameters and the props and what their shape is going to look like. And you don't need to go through every single line of code to be able to figure things out. I think of it using the analogy of a toaster. So in order to use a toaster, you don't need to know a whole bunch of things about circuits and how the electricity inside of the toaster works. All you really need to know is that it's expecting a piece of bread in, and you're expecting a delicious piece of toast to come out. And that's all. So it helps you to get a lot further by just giving you the expectations of what's supposed to go into a component, what you're expected to get out of a component, so that you don't have to spend a lot of time trying to learn a new code base when you start at a new company or you start on a new team or you inherit a new repo from another team if you're at a big company. And because of all those rules that we talked about before, because TypeScript enforces stricter rules than JavaScript, that also enforces code consistency across your code base. And it enforces best practices, meaning that your one single YOLO type engineer can't get away with just writing bad code and passing it off without actually thinking through all of the different edge cases before they ship that code to production. So make sure, even though it feels more rulesy, and it is more rulesy, it makes sure that all of your colleagues and yourself, you're following all of the great best practices of code. So it keeps your code much more error-free in the long run. TypeScript also makes you a better developer. Because you don't want to get those errors and because you're thinking about how to prevent getting those errors, TypeScript, I've noticed, changed the way that I think about code. I start to identify different edge cases and map out the ways that my different components are going to work together in the long run and possible ways that an error could pop up even before I've declared any variables for it. So I start to think of a more holistic picture of how my components are going to interact with one another. And it helps me to make sure that my code is just like sturdy, like it's just like a brick house of code in the long run. So once I started to learn about these benefits, I started to like TypeScript even more. It still gets on my nerves, but what doesn't? But I will say that I will never use vanilla JavaScript or React without TypeScript again.